Hello friends, welcome to QApedia and this is our blog qapedia.com. Today the topic that we are going to discuss is integration testing, and the subtopics that we will discuss today are integration testing, what is integration testing, example of integration testing, and we will see three examples in that, importance of integration testing, and then limitations of integration testing, then the summary of the session, and then question for the session. So let's start. Integration testing. We had discussed about unit testing in the last session, and we are going to discuss about integration testing in this session. But before we discuss about integration testing, we must know about levels of testing. And we have already discussed about levels of testing in our previous session. Just to give a summary on different levels of testing, there are four different levels of testing, and those different levels of testing are unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and user acceptance testing. Unit testing has already been discussed in the previous session, so we will discuss about integration testing in this session. What is integration testing? Integration testing is the second level of testing in software development life cycle. So we have seen that this integration testing is coming at the second level. This is performed after unit testing is completed. So first unit testing is done and then integration testing is done. Now if you want to define, then we can say integration testing is a type of testing where two or more than two units of a software are integrated together and then tested. So two units or more than two units can also be called as components. The components will be combined, integrated together, and then they will be tested. Or we can say that integration testing is a software testing technique that focuses on testing the interactions and integration between different components or modules of a software or of a system. So we test the compatibility of the two components or units of the software with each other, like how compatible these two units are with each other. And integration testing is also called as system integration testing. Now, if you want to understand more about integration testing, then we should see the examples of integration testing. Let's see the example one. So let's take an example of a car, and we know that there will be a lots of components in the car like wheels, engine, steering, speedometer, tire, accelerator, brake, clutch, etc. There will be a lots of components. The first thing that has to be done is unit testing on all these components. And once the unit testing is done and unit testing is passed, then integration testing should be done, and then we should see if it is getting passed or not. We should see if the integration testing is getting passed or not. So in integration testing, we will have to integrate two or more units together, and then we have to test them. So let's say accelerator was working fine when unit testing was done, and then wheels were also working fine when unit testing was done. But let's say we want to test when we press the accelerator, then the wheels are moving or not. So this type of testing is called integration testing because we are testing, we are doing testing on two units together because we are testing accelerator and wheels together. These two units we are testing together. This kind of testing is called integration testing. Same way, if we want to test the accelerator and speedometer together, then we should check that when we press accelerator, then the speedometer should show the speed properly. So here also we are testing two units together. So this is also called integration testing. Here we are testing accelerator with speedometer. Okay, so this is also called integration testing. Now, if suppose we want to test accelerator, wheel, and speedometer together, then we should check when we press the accelerator, then speedometer should show the speed properly, and then wheels should also start moving. Here we are testing three units together. This is also called integration testing. So this is how integration testing is done when we try to test a car or units of a car. Let's see the example number two. So let's take an example of an e-commerce website which is having different modules such as user registration, sign in, product browsing, product search, product list page, and product details page, checkout page, payment module, and order confirmation. So there will be lots of modules in an e-commerce website. And when we did the unit testing on all these modules, then all these modules were found passed. So because unit testing is passed, then integration testing should take place. So let's say the user registration module was working fine when tested as a single unit, and sign-in module also was working fine when tested as a single unit. But now when we want to do integration testing between these two modules, then we should check that after user registration, are we able to sign in using the user that we have just created? So we are testing user registration, then we are testing sign-in module using the same user we have just created. So we are checking the integration between user registration and sign-in module. Okay, this is how the integration testing between user registration module and sign-in module will be done. Now let's see another example. So suppose there are three modules: product search module, product list page module, and product details page. And all these were working fine when we tested them as a single unit. So when we want to do integration testing between these three modules, then we can do it this way, that we can search for a product. So when we will search for a product, product search module will be tested. And after searching for a product, product list page should display. So product search module and product list page. Between these two, we are doing integration testing. So if we are searching for a book, then a number of books should be displayed in the product list page. If we are searching for a t-shirt, then a number of t-shirts should be displayed in product list page. So this is how product search module and product list page integration testing between these two will be done. So when we search for a product, then the product list page should display a number of products. Then on this product list page, if we click on any of the product, okay, on this product list page, if we click on any of the product, then the product details page should display. So product list page and product details page, we are doing integration testing between these two now. So if you click on any of the product in product list page, then the product details page should display with the product details. This is how the integration testing between search module, product search module, product list page, and product details page module is done. Now let's see example number three. So let's take one more example of calculator app. There are a few modules in calculator like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So suppose when we did unit testing for each module, it was passed for all. Now integration testing will take place. So if suppose unit testing for addition of two numbers like 2 plus 3 and 3 plus 4 worked fine, and same way it worked fine for other modules as well, then we should start doing integration testing like addition and subtraction together, or addition and multiplication together, and so on. So if we try to do this operation like 3 plus 4 minus 2, so here we are trying to test addition and subtraction together, which is an example of integration testing. Or if we try to do this operation like 3 multiplied by 4 minus 2, then here also we are trying to do test multiplication and subtraction together, which is again an example of integration testing. Importance of integration testing. So here are some reasons why integration testing is important. First one is identifying defects early. Integration testing is just the second level of testing. So if we catch any defect during this stage, then we can say it's not too late and we have caught a defect early. And cost effective. Now, integration testing helps in catching defects early, so it's very less expensive and less time consuming to fix it. So it is very cost effective to do integration testing. Then enhancing confidence in the system. So unit testing is the first step and integration testing is the second step of testing. In the same way, unit development is the first step and integration of units is the second step of development. So if the unit testing is done properly, and found all the units are working fine, and integration testing is done properly and found all the integration of units is also working fine, then we can say that we are going to get less number of defects in system testing. Or if any defect that we'll find during system testing, it will not be related to unit testing or integration testing. It will be a system testing defect only. So this way we can say that we will get more confidence in our system. Then facilitating teamwork and collaboration. So when we do integration testing, we will have to follow with a lots of teams. Like we have to test integration between two or more than two units. So we need to follow up with each team who was a part of developing a particular unit or finalizing the requirement for that particular unit. And this way, integration testing facilitates teamwork and collaboration. Then improving maintainability. So in unit testing, we have seen that unit testing helps in improving the code maintainability. So in the same way, integration testing also helps in maintaining the system properly, because in integration testing will confirm that the data flow between the two units is happening properly and the system is going to remain stable when the two units are integrated together. Then testing coverage increases. So testing coverage increases because we are not just testing one unit, but we are testing integration of units. And in this particular process, we make sure that the data flow between the units is working fine. Limitation of integration testing. So here are some limitations of integration testing. We find integration defects but not system or software defects. So we test integration between two or more units in integration testing, but we don't test the entire system. So the defects that we find during integration testing might not be the same defect which end user might face while using the application, and that is why system testing and user acceptance testing is required. Time consuming and defect fixing. So we test integration between two or more units in integration testing. So when we find a defect, then we need to find that the issue is with which unit. For example, if we click on a product list page, then the product details page should display. But if suppose the product details page does not launch, then we need to find out that the issue is with product list page or the issue is with product details page, which means the product list page is not sending the proper information, or product details page is not able to receive proper information from product list page. So it takes somewhat more time to fix the issue as compared to unit testing. And less time, integration testing can only be done when the unit testing is passed for all the units. So testing team will have very less time to do integration testing as compared to unit testing. Then limited scope. So as we test integration between two or more units in integration testing, but we don't test the entire system. So the scope of testing is also somewhat limited as compared to system testing and user acceptance testing, and that's why system testing and user acceptance testing is required. Let's see the summary of the session now. So we have covered below topics in this session: levels of testing, what is integration testing, example of integration testing, importance of integration testing, and limitations of integration testing. And then the question for the session is, let's say that there is a car company and they have done testing for airbags separately. As a unit, they have tested airbags, but they didn't do testing when the airbags were integrated with the car. So when the airbags were integrated with car, then they did not do the test. So do you think that the company has performed unit testing and they perform integration testing? And if not, then what is the risk associated with this process? Okay, this is the question for the session. And yeah, that's it for the session. And if you want to get the notes for the session, then you can go to this particular blog. And thank you very much.